Right, we're back. On the last video I left off where I said I was going to be needing to make a new bracket for my rectifier, my regulator rectifier. I wasn't 100% sure about the belly pan, whether it came standard or not on this bike. I've never been interested in having a Deuce because I never really liked the back end on them and stuff. There's, you know, they weren't my sort of cup of tea. But that's why I'm not 100% sure what came on these things as standard and what wasn't standard. Well, certain things, most stuff standard anyways. But yeah, as it turns out, belly pans were standard on some of them. So that belly pan that was on it was obviously meant to be on it, but personally I think they look fucking hideous on this style of bike. But that's just my own opinion, everybody to their own. But I've made a new bracket, and it's on with being painted at the minute. Well, I'm painting it, it's hanging up drying at the minute. I've also scuffed up the swing arm, and that's on with being painted as well. I also checked the bearings in my rear wheel. I'll just move this camera so you can see. In my rear wheel, and then they were okay. So I then polished it. So the rear wheel's now polished. See on the end of the hub there that there's like duct tape over the end of it. That's to stop any shit getting in the bearings. That's the same on both sides. So that's polished up and looking a lot better. So what I've decided to do is carry on taking off, replacing, get this camera right, replacing parts. So I'm going to take this cover off. I've got a new one, so I'm going to do that first. Once I've done that, I'll knock it off. We'll go around the other side and I'm going to refit the primary. Actually, another couple of things I've been on with that I might as well show you. On the S&S air filter, you have an adapter plate. I've put the breather bolts in already, but you have an adapter plate that goes over here, and then your backing plate of the teardrop filter sits on. And I thought that the kit that I had all that with it, and it didn't. So I'm on with making up a new adapter plate, which I've copied off the one that's on my electric light. So I'm on with making that at the minute. So, but also I mentioned in one of my earlier videos about the number plate bracket. Now that's the one I bought, side mount, and it has like a light that bolts on there, and it bolts to a bracket on here. And say the light on that bit there. Plate sits in there. Now when I ordered this, it was meant to be for a 7x5 number plate, and it's actually for a 7x4. So what I've done is I've machined out to make a new one. So I've machined out this top bit. Where are we at? Still needs a couple of holes drilled in there. I also need to come put a hole through here, a little slot through there for wires to come through for the light. Drill these holes and one in there for the wires to go out, and then basically polish it all. You can see on the back where it's the different machining, well, where it's been sort of surfaced, and then, as I say, just polish it all up. So that's to finish off. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening off camera sort of thing. Also, with this one that I bought, the idea is you slotted the number plate into it and it slid up, and there was a couple of grub screws that held it in place. Well, I haven't done that with this one. It's just solid. But the way I've designed it, that's the number plate. It just sits in perfect into the surround. So that'll get like stuck in with some sort of gunk. Yeah, so that's just a few bits that I've been on with off camera sort of thing. So, right, so I'll just knock you off for a minute, get some tools, and we'll take this cover off and then fit the new one. Right, I'll be back in a minute. Right, we'll just quickly whip this cover off. I'll try and not block your view. I put 4 bolts back in this when I originally took it off to check everything. When I put it back on, I just put four of the bolts back in, 2 at the bottom, 2 at the top, and I've put an oil soak underneath, because there might be a little bit more oil ready to drain out of it. And also you know, I've completely forgot what I was going to say then. Oh yeah, I checked the bearings in the swing arm as well, and they were absolutely spot on. So again, I taped them up so that when while I'm painting it, there's no crap going into the... Oh, lots of oil. I need to grab another oil soak. I wasn't quite expecting that much to come out. Yeah, considering we've already had that cover off, while we checked the tensioner shoes, right, I need to get that old gasket off as well. Right, you just need to be careful here that you don't, when you're cleaning a gasket, surface off. That you don't drop bits into the engine. Right, oh. Rather than watching me scrat about trying to take these off, I'll just knock you off for now while I clean the gasket off. Back in a minute. Right, I've got the gasket off. Now, I've already checked to make sure I haven't got any bits of gasket down the back. I didn't see any coming off as I did it, and it did come off in bits, little pieces. But as I say, I've already checked, but just the good thing about these cam plates is you can see behind them. So you just go around, make sure he's not sitting in top of anything. And then basically right at the bottom you can see where the bottom of the oil pump is, and just make sure there's no bits sitting in there, which I've just seen some sort of gunge. It's not a piece of gasket, but I'll get rid of it anyways. I would if I could find my little pointy tool. That'll do. This could actually be a piece of casting. It is. So that's why you should double check. I mean, as I say, I didn't see. Yeah, it's definitely a piece of casting. I didn't see anything going in there, but it is easy to drop a bit in and you don't even notice. As a prime example, if you go back to the video where I was putting the rear cylinder rocker gear on, in the hole where the push rod comes through, there was actually a piece of gasket sat in there. Now, I noticed it and I removed it, but that's how easy it is to miss a bit. That must have come off when I actually lifted it all out, because when I cleaned the surfaces there was no there, if you know. Well, there was nothing on the actual top of the head that needed cleaned off. It was just a case of wipe them over. So always double check to make sure you haven't dropped out in. Right, and I'll just get the new gasket out. Right, new gasket, and I won't sit it right up yet. Just want it so it sits away, because I'm just going to give the bottom one last wipe off before I start. I'll just grab a screw and an Allen key and the new cover. Right, cover can go under my arm. I'll just give this a last wipe, and then what I'll do is I'll get one of the screws through, get the gasket onto it, and then I shall feed it all in carefully. Right, I'll just grab a pile of screws. And I'll get one in right in the bottom bit. As I say, you've just got to make sure that your gasket lined up so that you're not pushing it out of the way with a screw and ending up with a trapped gasket. And then basically just get all your screws in. As you'll notice, new screws again, new bolts, whatever you want to call them. I have to get the other bit of the Allen key, the shorter bit. Right, and this is the last screw to go in. And then once you're happy that they're all in, well, you'd know if they were all in, or they weren't. Once they're all in, get it where you're happy that it's all lined up. And then just nip it up so it can't move. Right, so I'll just quickly get this one in. And that clatter you've just heard was just a banjo bolt that I had sat in the end of the brake line. Now there is actually torque settings for these screws, which if I'm not mistaken is 14 to 16 Newton meters. But because I can't get torque wrench on half of them, because I've still got the exhaust system on, I'll just be doing my usual tightening till the Allen key bends. And that one, which I can't get on properly in the book review there. Come on. Right, just knock you off a minute. Right, back again. Right, I've tightened all these bolts up, and I've done it to where the Allen key bends. That's tight enough for these. Now I don't know whether I mentioned it before or whether I just thought I had. There is a torque setting for these if you wanted to torque them up, and I'm sure it's 14 to 16 or 14 to 17 Newton meters. I normally do them to like sort of 16, but I'm sure that's the range. It either is 14 to 16 or 14 to 17 Newton meters. But right, they're tight. So I've got a new end cover, just a plain. I really need to remember to turn this screen round. Yeah, just a plain chrome cover for the end. So if I can find where I've put my blade, I shall get into it. And it even comes with screws. and an Allen key. Right. In fact, I think I might just put some low strength Loctite on them. Right, I'm just going to knock you off a sec while I ratchet out some Loctite. Back in a minute. Right. Loctite 222 is a low strength Loctite. And again, just tiny little drop. Even that was a bit too much. And that's that. So that's cover and end cap on. So what I'll do now is I'll knock you off, I'll get you moved around the other side and we'll put the primary case back on, and then after that we're going to put the yokes, start putting the yokes back on. Right, back in a minute. Right, going to put the primary cover on. Now I've got a new gasket, obviously, because the other one was rough to bits. So just put your gasket on, locate it over the dowels, and that's in place. Now I don't know if you can see there, a piece of gasket that I've got oil on stuck to the end of there. That one's stuck. That one wouldn't stick for some reason. So what I'm going to do, there's the other gasket, because if you remember on this, the case also bolts on them too, because I forgot about them, thinking I was working on a touring or something. So I'm going to grab one of the inspection cover screws And I'm gonna, in fact, I'm gonna just put a pair of gloves on. Yeah, I'm gonna put the offer the cover up, but I'm gonna put one of the inspection cover bolts through. Not putting the inspection cover on, just the bolt. And I'm going to put the piece of gasket over the bolt. So when I offer it up, let's get it so it all lines up with the. Try not to knock the gasket off the dowels. And just check when I find my torch. Check that my gasket hasn't fell off. No, it hasn't. So what I'll just quickly do is just wind that in, just a few threads, same with the other one. Make sure that gasket hasn't fell off. No, it hasn't. Now the reason I'm putting these two in is just to stop them two bits of gasket falling off inside the case. So now I'll put all the bolts in. What you've got 5 long ones and then 7 short ones. A very good job of cleaning this case. Buried. But I'm also going to put a bit of blue Loctite on these. Just a little drop. And yeah, don't tighten them up. Don't even nip them up yet. You just got to keep an eye on at the bottom edge, make sure the gasket's not dropped below the bottom of the case. Buy decent gaskets, that tends not to happen. But some of the cheap gaskets that you can buy, they're a bit flimsy. So that was a James gasket, that one. And the decent quality is James stuff. Now when I'm saying not to nip them up, it's not because I'm going to line anything up, because you can't with the primary cover because it's on dowels. It's more just so you don't nip the gasket tight, so that you can, if need be, you can still move the gasket about to get the bolt through the hole. And this is the last of the short ones. Now the weird thing is with these is they're the same size screw, bolt, as whatever you want to call them. They're like 1/4 inch as what's on the cam cover. Now, as I was saying earlier, the cam cover, it's between 14 and 16 or 14 and 17, something like that, Newton meters torque setting. Yet on this it's 12 to 14, and I don't know why that's the case. Right, and then just nip them all up. Right, put the lid on my Loctite, and I'll just set my torque wrench to 14. And we'll start torquing them up. Right. Just trying to remember which ones I've done. finished that one. Complete that one first. Right, so that's the primary cover on. I'll probably end up getting a new primary cover, to be fair. Blemishes in the chrome. I fucking hate it when chrome starts fucking peeling or blemishing. It looks really cack. Right, I'll not be putting the covers on yet, but what I am going to do, just so I don't lose them, I'm just going to screw these little cover bolts on, just so they're in place. Strange. Right, and that O-ring that's in the end of there, I've got a new one to go in, so I'll just take this old one out. I'm not going to put that on, I'll just hang that on there for now. I want to clean out inside there, and that can go in the bin. So, I'll just knock you off for a minute. I don't even know whether I said I've actually bought a new derby cover. I'm just waiting for it to turn up, because when I went to clean the old one, it's all scabbled on the bottom. So I've just ordered a new one. So that should be in the next day or two. Right, I'll knock you off for now. We'll get moved round. I'm going to be starting on yolks now.